Dzień dobry, witam Państwa serdecznie. Temat jest
It is going to be about children and adolescents in the world of beauty trends, what risks and psychological consequences may be associated with appearance pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, what our youth said should be food for thought for all of us, and I would like to share my thoughts and my conclusions. This is about what is happening in my family, so that is about people close to my heart. This is why I would like to draw your attention to certain things, and also that you think about subjects you may not have thought about. So, just to start with, a pretty long time ago, as an adult person, I looked at social media and I looked at trends regarding beauty, and I came across a film that was made by a girl of 12, 13, so very young, and she talked about how to make a good makeup, even looking at face contouring. I will be very honest, I still don't know how to make a really good makeup. And she knew exactly what to do. She showed all of this. So it really stopped me. And I looked at the comments. I was really surprised because, as we know, there is a lot of hate over the internet. No matter what you publish, you will be prone to hate. And I don't want to say, but about 90% of comments were really positive. I was really surprised. There were girls of different ages wrote, you are beautiful. This is fantastic. I would like to look like you. And so I started looking at what is it like now and what was it like many years ago. So maybe as women and maybe men, you behaved like other dads, because young girls would take mom's lipstick, makeup, high heels, a dress. This is what we would use, and as children, we often imitate adults. This is socialization. This is how we learn how to function in the society. So that's very interesting. And boys often imitate their dads, their fathers. Sometimes they, use cologne water, they pretend that they shave. And something as innocent as makeup, as something when you take care of yourself, can be connected with different consequences. Also, when your children are present on the internet, and very often when children use social media, that's about 2 hours per day, and when they spend 2 hours per day in there, then they look at content that draws their attention. You know what content can be found, you know how it functions, so it's important to know about it. So this is about the light, about the camera, and the pressure. So this is something that's difficult to effects that's difficult to achieve, and these are not artificially generated but the real ones, so it may be difficult for us. So when we think about it and why young people are so sensitive to it, well, this is the pressure of looks. This is the adolescence. This is when young people change physically, psychologically. They look for, what am I like? Who am I? How am I perceived? And very often these days, the answer to those questions, apart from the family, can be found on social media. Secondly, why they can just blindly follow trends is that, the feeling I may be excluded because I do not fit I dress differently, that I function in such a peer group where there are people wearing premium brands. I don't wear premium brands. I cannot afford such expensive cosmetics. I don't know whether you are aware of the fact that when you watch films made by teenage girls, the brands that are promoted there are very expensive cosmetics, not just the ones from any corner cosmetic store, but they are the expensive ones. So this is about being accepted, and that's another thing. This is another piece of information why that's the case. And also, as people, we have this tendency to compare ourselves with others. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way it goes. But it would be good to have the tools and then equip our young people with such tools that they can manage such situations. So I would like to show you some data regarding comparing yourself with people who are more attractive than we are. This is a meta-analysis where you can see 48 different studies were consulted and analyzed. So we've got over 7,600 participants. And so what we feel is intuitively right was that the more I'm exposed to that content, when I'm going to compare myself to people who, in my opinion, are more attractive than I am, and these are different aspects, looks, financially, looks, then I am more prone to my own self-esteem to be lower. That's going to worsen the way I perceive myself. That's what one of the respondents said. When I look at all of those beautiful people on Instagram, I feel sorry that I have to go to school each morning. So comparing yourself to more attractive people, well, you've got the poor body image, lower self-esteem, poor mental health as well. And as you can see over here, the effect is independent of gender and age. And we also have to take into consideration that we as adults, our limbic system, a frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex, this is fully developed, and the limbic system and also the prefrontal cortex are not fully developed in young people, in teenagers, so they are not always rational. This is a study that was carried out in 2021. However, I quote it quite often. This was done by the Empowering Children Foundation, and this is very interesting. And this is about the influence and the impact of social media use on body image among teenagers. So this is about the social media and what to wear, how to dress. So we used to read magazines. Now it has shifted substantially. Also, when we look deeper into it, then we can see that both girls and boys feel pressured to improve their appearance after using social media. And this was 4 years ago, yes? So it doesn't have to be that way, but it may have been that those trends have become stronger. And also, nearly half of the girls and 1 in 5 boys use post-retouched photos. This shows how deeply this pressure permeates young people's daily lives. So you can also look at this, and that 32% of teenagers would like to look like people on the internet whose profiles they follow, and 34% of teenagers would like to look every day like people do in photos published on the internet. So they would like to look like in the photos that they do publish. So the looks, I would look like in the pictures that I publish over the internet. So let's think about ourselves, how many pictures we are able to take, selfies, etc., before we publish them over the internet. When we ask someone, are we going to filter, are we going to select a photo, are we going to take the first one at random? Most of the time we'll be very selective. And so when the teenagers publish something, they know that that is going to be assessed. And you know what it's like. If you've got private or more public accounts, you can be prone to also assessment. And that can be important because young people like compliments, and we also heard the quote that it's very nice when it's from a stranger because it can be more honest, because usually our parents tell us that they are wonderful, we look great, etc. So we've heard it many times over. And when it comes to hate, also by NASK National Research Institute, Teenagers 3.0, that we also hear that looks is one of the main reasons of hate. So even though someone is an expert and publishes valuable content, very often there are negative comments regarding the looks and where that person is. So it's not about the content, it's not about what they say, it's about how they look that becomes more important. Time online. According to the newest results of our research, we see that time spent online by teenagers, that's 4 hours 59 minutes. And speaking of social media, an average teenager spends 2 to 4 hours. And it seems that girls spend more time than boys on social media. Teenagers. This is a report published in June by the Institute for Digital Citizenship. Ladies and gentlemen, these are children between 7 and 12 years. As you know, they should not have accounts on social media, and well, this is hard data. And also, as our team runs classes, different activities in schools, very often kids, at the age of 9, 10, third grade, practically all of them use TikTok. The average is 2 hours 11 minutes per day. So that's nearly the same for that age group as teenagers. So it's good bearing that in mind.
Na to tyle czasu.
We could talk about it for a long time. However, I'm going to signal some of the issues, just some of the issues. First of all, low self-esteem and depression. What is worth remembering, what is worth keeping in mind is that when the level of self-esteem is high enough, if my self-esteem is good, then in the case of comparing myself, automatic comparison with people that are more attractive to me, I have some kind of buffer. The child has a buffer, that this is a kind of protection that I will not take it so personally. So these are the skills or habits that are worth creating in children so that our children have good self-esteem. I will add more to that a bit later. For 46, these are results from 2 years ago. For 46%, so almost half of the teenagers, it is important how they are perceived through the prism of their physical attractiveness in relation to social media. So this trend is being confirmed here. Additionally, almost 44%, so nearly half of teenagers use social media to feel better. So social media, in a way, are to be a remedy for my worse mood. I go to school. Yesterday I watched the videos with beautiful people. Now I'm going to school. Of course, I keep scrolling, and what do I see? Once again, I see beautiful things because this is how algorithms work. I again see people who I perceive as better, who have a better life, are more attractive, and this causes what? That I feel worse again, even though the purpose of using social media was to feel better. In this context, what is also important is that we think how many children around us, how many children in the classroom, how many children from our environment, what kind of self-esteem they have, what can they say about themselves. As you can see, nearly half of teenagers declare low level of self-esteem, so they are not resilient, they are more they cannot protect themselves from this pressure, they are more susceptible to the unrealistic pressures for appearance. And additionally, loneliness. It could seem that if they spend 2 to 4 hours a day in social media, in the previous study, Nastoletki 3.0 spent 4 hours, 14 minutes on average. So if we spend 4 hours there, they shouldn't feel lonely. And still they do feel lonely, so something is wrong, something isn't working. I also think that the lack of such relations in real life has plays a great role here. And now the loop closes. The teenagers with lower self-esteem usually are characterized by high and above average level of loneliness. So on the one hand, there's a pressure for appearance. Half of teenagers feel this pressure connected with social media. They have a low esteem, they feel lonely, and please see how susceptible a ground it is for my well-being to be even lower. If someone doesn't take care of it, it can lead to various depression episodes or other consequences that I'm going to mention later on. What I also encounter in my environment, close environment, is addiction to filters. We can find ourselves in the trap of posting only what has been filtered through. We don't feel so much, to such an extent we don't feel well with ourselves that we cannot publish in social media a non-retouched photograph. I have among my close people an adult woman who's married with 2 children, and on her social media there is not a single unretouched photograph. So this is very sad because this is a great person. But the question is why? What's behind it that this is what it looks like? So we can find ourselves in the loop if we keep retouching photos and posting such photos, and I look in the mirror, then constantly I get the message, I'm not sufficient, I'm not enough, I'm not attractive, I should look differently, I would like to look differently. Social anxiety. It may happen that part of teenagers may have a problem with going outside, going and meeting with their peers, because, for instance, they publish the retouched photos when in reality they look differently. Another consequence is the addiction on acceptance online, because the teenage brain loves thumbs up, likes. teenagers like to have their value confirmed online. Another very important problem that may occur are eating disorders. When we talk about eating disorders, that even though various platforms potentially block content promoting anorexia, still it's very easy to find such content. So what I want to show you are the results of the study conducted last year in Norway. So as we are here in the room, intuitively, if we were thinking about the pressure related with appearance, we would think that girls would be more under the pressure for being thin, but boys would have more pressure to be to have a good muscle build. So this is confirmed in the study, but as far as eating disorders goes, this pressure is more in girls. It is more correlated with the pressure of being thin in girls. And note that as many as 80% of girls declared that the social media negatively impact the perception of their own body. Dysmorphic disorder, body dysmorphic disorder. The reason, the cause for body dysmorphic disorder is usually due to genetic and social factors, environmental factors, but also an intense contact with social media may additionally impact the fact that a person will be even more concentrated on a defect that this person perceives in herself or himself, or it may strengthen these symptoms or reveal such phobias sooner. Risky behaviors related to appearance pressure. I don't know if you know this trend, Get Ready With Me. So such videos on all social media are multitudes. Those are videos where a given influencer, a given person promoting promotes how to prepare to leave to school, what to take to school in terms of cosmetics, and or when we are older, and how to put makeup on for a date. In case of boys, how to what hair products to use, what shirt to wear, or with adult men, what kind of watch to wear to show class. So this kind of advice is present, and it can also be negative. I browsed through social media and I saw a lot of videos where girls, sometimes you can see that they're not even 13 years old, when they put on creams and cosmetics on their face that are completely not suited to this kind of skin. So when a 10-year-old puts on cosmetics with acids, with retinol, then of course this can cause allergies, it can cause skin irritation, and this is very unhealthy for this child. And a study was conducted by an association of pediatricians in America, when they found that there are a lot of videos that promote this negative trend, but of course girls want to follow adults they like. And I also want you to know that the cost of cosmetics is very high, and we have several police officers with us, and I also talked to them about it. Unfortunately, in Poland we have quite many cases of cosmetic thefts in cosmetic stores. So this is quite a significant. There's quite a significant number of this kind of felony. Such a another risky behavior may be experimenting with supplements or drugs that can be gained in an illegal way, that make that are to act like fat burners or create larger muscle mass. So how to protect and support our children? First of all, I think we need to be present in their lives, and I think we will hear it on numerous occasions today. And we will reach our child not when we say don't compare yourself. We will reach the child when we say that not the appearance is important, but what skills they have. So we should praise a child from the young age and emphasize what kind of person the child is, what nice he or she did, and what we find joy in. We should emphasize their passions, talents, because it's difficult to break the pattern of our comparing with others, but we still can empower children. So with this note, I would like to thank you for your attention.